Good evening and welcome to Vibin with Ashley Live. I'm your host, Ashley Live. Today is Saturday, November 7th, and it has been such an incredible and remarkable day here in the United States as we elected our new president, Joe Biden, and it's been an emotional one. I cried quite a few times today, to be completely honest with you, but those tears are full of joy and hopefulness and equality and love. And so I just wanted to talk about that really quick as Joe Biden is currently speaking. So tonight we have a really amazing show. We have Regi Drake. He's based out of Seattle, Washington, and he's a guitarist, session musician, and singer. So I start each show with a song lyric. And tonight's lyric is going to be from Let Love Rule, from the one and only Lenny Kravitz. I just felt it was so fitting for the time. Let Love Rule. So here it is. Love is gentle as a rose, and love can conquer any way. It's time to take a stand. Brothers and sisters, join hands. We got to let love rule. And that is from the one and only Lenny Kravitz. And Reggie's in the room, so we're going to bring him in. Hi, Reggie.
What's up? Hi.
Yeah.
How are you? I'm great.
Doing well, doing well. So I was just introducing you to the room, and every show I start off with a song lyric, and I don't know if you caught it, but my song was Let Love Rule, because let love rule. Let love rule.
It's my idol. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Incredible. Have you met him before?
I haven't. Oh my God. If I ever met Lenny Kravitz, I'd just be sweating bullets. I would just be like, her father up. I don't know what to say. But yeah, what a man. What a, just a great artist. Great performer. And just a killer track, Let Love Rule. That's all he's about. It's so great.
Yeah, he's so incredible. He's always very spiritual, leading with love, equality. I feel like we all need Lenny in our life, because when you hear him speak, he's so calm and he's just like spiritual. I'm like, please give me some of that.
It's still like water, Lenny. He just walks in the room and the lights turn on. And he's just like, yep, we're going to have a real nice conversation. You're just going to have your heart grow like 3 times. It's going to be great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spiritual adventure. Like if Lenny had one of those spiritual retreats where you spend a week with him, I would totally sign up and be like, just give me some of that. Even if I had like my pink, right?
Right. Oh my God. Can you even imagine what that would be? Oh my, he'd probably be on his like island, and I think he's in like the Bahamas or.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Have you seen the house?
Mm-hmm. He has like a. So if I remember correctly, he had like a I don't know what you call it. It's not like exactly an RV, but it's like a mobile silver house. It looks like a silver bullet with wheels on it.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and inside I think he has like a studio or something in there. It's very like packed, but I guess its surroundings are like he's got a beachfront, and I think he has a garden, and it's just like he lived so well on the land. It's really yeah, man.
Yeah.
What a guy that Kravitz.
I know. I saw. I don't know. I think Architectural Digest or something. They were talking about his house in the Bahamas, and then there was a video to go along with it. Watching this video, and I was like, "Can I move in?"
Right. Yeah. It's like, is it Nassau? I think it's Nassau that he's in, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's just it's so wild. Oh my God.
I love it. I love it. So how are you doing tonight?
I am just full of love. I'm letting love rule. I'm good. I'm feeling.
Love rule.
Yeah, it's a good night. It's been a great day. Really chill. I was just kind of hanging out today. Getting coffee with a girlfriend. Just being easy, just a chance to breathe. That's all I like, you know?
Yeah, totally. Because sometimes when you think about it, it's like all you need to do is just take a deep breath because we're also thankful.
Yeah, I mean,
that more than ever.
yeah, I know. We're up, we're moving, we're, you know, still breathing. That's a gift in its own, you know? So.
Definitely, definitely. So let's get into it.
Cool.
You're born and raised in St. Louis. You grew up in a musical family. You were singing from a young age, playing guitar. Tell us a little bit more about your childhood and what brought you into music.
Yeah. So I was in a musical family. I had my mom, my dad, my brother. We all just really gravitated to music. My father was I guess you call him like a gigging musician. He sang all the time. He did a lot of corporate events, a lot of weddings, a lot of like, you know, after parties and all that stuff. And he would sing top 40s, jazz standards, you know, the classics, everything in between. So I really got my singing, my musical niche from looking at him and seeing how he did all of these things. My mother was very active in church, and she would sing in the choir. She would have solos and, you know, start doing things for everybody. And that was kind of my outlet for, you know, starting to play guitar. Was actually in church. So as I was growing up, I would just get in the band and, you know, play these same songs while my mom is up there just killing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then there's my little brother, and I mean, he is a powerhouse. He is like this very outgoing showman of the family. Really big into theater and music theater in particular. So he was doing like all these crazy productions like Footloose and Kinky Boots and all of this, and he can just sing. Like, I'm honestly super jealous because he has got like this incredible voice. It's pretty great. And he's like the polar. We have this joke. He's like the polar opposite of me. I'm very like, you know, reserved, quiet, dark in myself, and he is bright and like boisterous and, you know, like lights up a room. Yin and yang, as we say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I grew up like singing and performing with my family. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to follow my father's footsteps, and you know, I did like talent shows when I was in elementary school, and I got as far as to, you know, wanting to like record myself and throw it on American Idol at some point, but somewhere along the way, it was like my seventh birthday. My uncle, who is probably one of my biggest idols right now, like ever. He's my biggest idol. He gave me my first guitar, and for my birthday. And my mom looked at him and was like, "He's not going to use this thing. He's a singer. Like, what's going to happen with this?" And she was right for a little bit. I kind of played around in like second grade, whatever grade that was, and I got so frustrated with it at the time, I just kind of dropped it and let it go. So I just let it go for a good 4 years, and then magically I picked it back up. I was like, I'm gonna try it again and see what happens, and it stuck. I mean, I don't know what happened. It just kind of stayed with me at that point. And then the rest is history, you know? Yeah.
So you were just around music your whole life. Like, everybody around you was singing, and it was just like, it kind of just seemed like a natural transition for you to go in.
Yeah. It was that environment that was just super natural, full of like music everywhere. And it was eclectic music too. I think that's definitely one of the things that defines me as a musician, is how eclectic my music taste was, because I was nurtured in that environment. You know, my father was listening to stuff like Frankie Beverly and Maze, but then he would like flip the script and listen to like Chicago or Earth, Wind and Fire, even as far as Nirvana at some points. And you're sitting there, very interesting. So there's always this outlet of new music, new genres that I'm young, I'm listening to these things, I'm just like, whoa, this is incredible. Like, what is this? And then my dad would be trying to rehearse these songs because maybe he has a gig like later on that week, and he's trying to get these songs in his head, and he's singing them and repeating them all the time, and I'm just in the background, just kind of like a sponge, just listening to it and absorbing it all. And so like I had this huge repertoire of genres already when I was young. And then my mom, when she would pick my brother and I up from school, she would play like the latest neo soul, so like Jill Scott or Tamia or Mary J. Blige or something like that, right? India Arie, who I actually opened for, like when I was, God, I was probably like 13 or 14 years old when I did that. But yeah, I didn't really like think about it at the time because I was so young and stupid. And it kind of came full circle, and it was crazy. But like she kept playing these songs, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know, there's so many different avenues that, you know, music can take me to, and I just really wanted to keep exploring that and wanted to keep chasing that feeling, because obviously everybody gets some sort of feeling when they hear something, and you know, and it resonates. It's a universal language spoken and understood by all. And I wanted to add my own take to that same language. So that's why I really dug into it as much as I did.
How would you describe the music that you create?
Ooh, I describe it like the seasons on Earth. It's like summer, winter, spring, and fall. I definitely go through phases. When I was younger, I was more of like this neo soul kind of guy, and then I grew up. I wanted more like Green Day and like the kind of rock you hear at like a football game. That kind of like really driven rock stuff. So I had that phase, my little emo phase too, and then I had like this phase where I was listening to a lot of electronic music, like techno and trance and drum and bass, and something that really defines like where I stand as a guitarist too, is all these different things that I'm hearing. So whereas I'm here now, I'm more of like this alternative rock, Death Cab for Cutie, Foles kind of guitar player. You know, I'm into alternative rock, but I'm also into like mainstream, what's mainstream now. So the things that like Dua Lipa are doing, or the things that Doja Cat or any of these people that are just having great shows. I think where I'm at in this stage is more of the idea of being a performer, being not just like a single genre guitar player, but more of like a guitar player who wants to put on a show, who wants to kind of express who he is, even with the guitar on, but also while I'm on stage too. I think that's one of those things that is very important to me as I'm navigating this, you know.
Wonderful. What is your creative process like?
And it's it usually starts with some sort of muse, right? So some sort of inspiration. It could be as far as like an event I've had, or something that I witnessed on at a concert that I'm like really into. And from that, I take moments. There's always these moments that, you know, I'm seeing or hearing, and I kind of commune with those moments in a sense, right? So I bring it in, and I'm like, all right, I love this. Why do I like this? And I pick it apart. For example, if it's like a lyric, I'm like, why does that lyric strike me so well? And I figure out what it means to me, and I kind of twist that lyric and figure out what I'm saying to that lyric and put it into something. Or I'm usually in my room, like I call it a cave, in my cave, just messing around on my pedal board, making really strange noises, and I have this breakthrough, and I'm like, I love this noise. It sounds like this. Why does it sound like this? Chase that feeling. So it usually starts with that muse, that like, I like this thing, I like that thing. I'm gonna pick it apart, dissect it, put it back together the way I see it being back together, and then moving forward from there. Usually after that, it usually forms into like the skeleton of a song, right? So, you know, it gets some sort of soul from it. Like, is the soul really aggressive? Is the soul very calm and peaceful? Like, is it an evolving soul? Is it, you know, kind of a no soul in that aspect? And I, you know, take that point and I shoot off different branches of it. It can be this way, it can be that way, I can take it this way. And until I find that perfect position, that position that just makes the most sense, that's where I really put the flesh into the song afterwards. And it's usually how I do it with myself, and it's especially how I do it with my band. So, yeah.
I love that, what you said about the lyric. Like, you might hear a lyric, like, for instance, the lyric from Let Love Rule, right? And you're like, okay, this is how Lenny is going to say it. But then how I interpret it. And then you're just like, you think about it, you dissect it, and then it just comes out in a different form. Yeah,
absolutely. It comes out, and it's one of those things that's left to interpretation, you know? Like, you can say, like, there are so many, like, thought-provoking lines in music. And I think it's interesting because when I was in college, we would analyze some of these major songs and all of these lyrics and try to figure out what they were saying, right?
Yeah.
And even without having the artists, like, actual input of the song, you kind of have this thing like, he's saying, I love this, but, like, does he love someone, or does he love something, or does he love some place? You know, what noun is this attached to, right? And we don't know, but we have that kind of relationship with the song that makes us feel like we are loving that thing, that we have that relation to, which is so weird. I mean, we have so many interpretations when we hear music that, you know, we can make our own stories from it, and we can make our own interpretations from that little line that meant totally something different.
Yeah. And then the artist doesn't even want you to know what it really means, because they're like, no, that's really personal. You can interpret however you want.
Right. It's their experience with the song. Like, you can have a completely different experience with that same song. You know, it's like asking someone, do you see the same color of red that I see, right? And you don't actually know if they do or not.
Right.
That's how I've looked at it all the time. Like, we just don't know until the artist tells us. Up until then, it's kind of our sandbox version of what does this song mean.
A few of your influences are Jimi Hendrix, Lenny Kravitz, Prince, Tom Morello, and then several others. What other musicians do you admire?
Well, Lenny, Jimmy, man, and it has to do with my upbringing. This is definitely a trying time. You may notice that those that I've listed on that list are all black. They're black musicians, right? Hendrix, Prince, Lenny Kravitz, Tom Morello, but the list goes on further. There's Wes Montgomery, there's George Benson, there's Vernon Reid. Another reason why I really wanted to keep playing guitar was because I wanted to also continue in that line of being a black guitarist. I wanted to really dive into it, and I wanted to dive into that because I'll never forget it. I was in middle school at the time, and I was, you know, first day of middle school, you're making friends, you're doing all this stuff, and I walk in with this acoustic guitar on my back, and you know, getting ready for band class or whatever, and I'm meeting new people, and I meet this one lady, one little girl, and I introduce myself, and she asks, "What's on your back?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's just a guitar. I play guitar." And next thing she said was like the pinnacle moment of what I do. She was like, "Black people don't play guitar."
What?
And I was like, and I mean, at that time, I understood the gravity of what she said, but it still stuck with me. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. Why doesn't it sound right? You know?
Yeah.
It wasn't it wasn't like this thing like, oh, I have to get revenge on her because like we totally can. It's more of like, wait, yes we can. Like Chuck Berry, Wes Montgomery. There are so many of them out there, and
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to chase that. And I was like, well, if there aren't any, then I'm gonna be the first. So buckle up, sweetheart. Here I come.
Oh, you.
Yeah, I was like, here we go. And I just always looked up to these big, prominent, you know, Black guitarists, and how they worked the stage, how they were able to play, how they were able to just command presence. How they're like, listen, take me seriously. Like, take me seriously. I'm here for you. I'm here to play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I really loved about that. So, and then as I grew up, obviously I had more idols that I wanted to play off of. Like, I love The Edge from U2. Like, he's got this massive pedal board. That's why I have a massive pedal board. It's all of that good stuff. I also idolized some of the current, more mainstream guitarists out there. So you have like the classic ones, but another one that I really look up to is from my favorite band, Foals, which is a band out of Oxford, I believe, Oxford, London, or the UK, I should say. Mm-hmm. And their frontman, his name is Yanis, and he's just like this short little boy, but he can just command so much energy out of a crowd, and it just makes me feel so good when I watch him play. And super young guy, he's just like, I love that showmanship aspect out of it. And there's one more, and that is in actually just in my other line of work as a touring musician. Mm-hmm. I ran into this guitarist who was playing at Coachella, right? And the best way I can say it is, he doesn't have to, you know, have like this long-standing career for him to be an inspiration to me. Mm-hmm. But he's like a coworker who, you know, is just shining and thriving, and you want to just kind of follow in that same like trajectory and that footsteps of that same person.
Right.
And just his showmanship that does it. It's the showmanship, the confidence that it takes to, you know, really bare your soul and get out and be a spectacle. You know, it's mm-hmm. something I love chasing, and yeah, it's a big part of who I am.
And as a massive music fan who has attended several shows, when you go up there and they're just giving it their all and they're passionate, they're confident, and they're just in the moment, you feel that as an audience member, you feel that as a fan, and it is like no other. Like, I saw Tom Morello. Have you seen Tom Morello play?
Yes, and I was on the same, we were playing a show in New York, and we were on the same bill as him, and it was his old solo act, and I passed him in the hallway, and I didn't say anything because I was, the same reason for Lenny Kravitz.
Terrified.
Oh my God, Tom Morello. I can't say anything, but I definitely brushed his shoulder. Whew, I think about that night a lot. It was so scary.
Because I saw Tom Morello at Irving Plaza, and they had, I think, the International opened up for them at Plaza.
Yeah, our show, it was actually in Brooklyn, Brooklyn Steel.
Brooklyn Steel, great venue.
Beautiful venue. I loved it. It was for the label that the artist I played for was on. They were doing like a 10th anniversary show. Mm-hmm. And they had basically all the artists on that label basically just playing a few songs from it. So I believe like Sleigh Bells were there, Sunflower Bean was there. Mm-hmm. My Alice Burton, the girl I played with, was there. The woman I played with, I should say. And all of these people were just packed into Brooklyn Steel, right? And you have these green rooms. Some bands are sharing them, and I see Tom Morello at the end of the hall as I walk out to get ready for, me to go on.
Right.
I'm like, that's the guy. That's him. That got the aviators. He's got his hat. I mean, that's Tom Morello. And I'm walking, I'm trying to like hold my guitar. I'm clenching my guitar. I'm walking to the stage, and I just look at him. I put my head down. I walk, and it was Ashley. It was so hard for me.
You couldn't just make eye contact with him and smile?
I smiled. I was like, sir, okay, bye-bye. And I just walked away. I think about that night all the time. And then
Tom, if you're out there, Regi really wants to meet you. I mean, maybe not during COVID, but when things get normal.
Yeah. When things get normal, I just want to shake your hand once. So there's this, you may know masterclass.com. He has like his own little section, right?
Right.
So of course I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go check this out. And all the while I'm just sitting in my room learning all these Tom Morello things, I'm looking at him, I was like, I passed this man in the hallway and I said I wasn't gonna say nothing. And I was just like, let's just keep learning this. Oh, man.
Wow.
Yeah, good times. Fun times.
Well, who would you like to collaborate with?
Yeah, this is always a hard question. Gary Clark Jr.
Yes.
First day I ever saw Gary Clark Jr., I was just taken away. That man has just got, man, he is just so good. He is so good. Great guitarist, great singer, great performer. Gary Clark Jr., just because I feel like that man just has so many stories. And it's been like this small thing of mine when I'm not in my like dreamy phase, when I'm in like my actual like, all right, let's do some licks phase, to just like sit in a room with him and just trade off licks. Just be like, oh, I like that one. I want to do this one. You can be like, yeah, that's cool, man. Try this. And I'm like, cool, man. Kind of one of those things.
That would be so. You and him like go back and forth, and that'd be real.
I would keep up. I would just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here and you just show me what's up. Yeah, definitely Gary Clark Jr. I saw his performance at the last Grammys, and it was this year. Wow, it felt like a lifetime ago. Man, when Kobe passed the same day.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Right.
Yeah, that was definitely a hard.
Yeah, emotions were like so high that entire night. And you can see it on all the artists. Like they're like, look, this is great. I'm happy to be at the Grammys, but night is dedicated to Kobe and only Kobe for this one. And you could just see it in all of them. And Gary came up and he played his new single, and there's fire everywhere, and he's just sweating and he's going, and you're just like, oh my God, dude, who are you?
He's of their lifetime, like a magical experience.
Yeah. I saw him because he's from Austin. I saw him at Austin Limits. I think he was playing at Stubbs, maybe, and just electric. He's so captivating to watch. Need to see him again live. Need to do it. If you see him live, definitely see him live, guys.
I see him live, but I want to see him live. And as a music fan, I'm down now because I go to like 2-3 shows a week, and I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I get my music fix? So it's like, it's weird that everything's like a live stream or like a Facebook stream, or it's like the whole energy. Because as a musician, obviously, you look out into the crowd and you see like thousands and thousands of people.
Thousands.
And now we're all in our rooms.
It's a definite change, because that's what life was before this, and I was very accustomed to that, getting on a stage and you're at a festival or maybe you're at a club and there's just rows of people, and there's whenever I'm on stage like that, there's this kind of reciprocal energy that's going between artists to audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the artist is there, they're playing their song, they're there, they want to get a reaction from someone.
Of
So,
course.
right, they're playing their hearts out, and the crowd, I mean, they can love it or hate it, but depending on what they do, that comes back and it hits the audience, or it hits the artist, and then the artist is like, they're feeling it, or maybe they don't like it, but whatever it is, it's just this whole reciprocal thing of energy. And if it's love and just pure, like, we love this night, we're here for it, it's just a good night. And that's what, you know, I miss about live shows. And I think that's what the audience even misses about live shows, right? It's
the energy. It's
the energy.
Room like that, and you just look around and people are singing and they're like smiling, like, oh my God. Like,
they're crying, they're like, they're just in this out of body experience where they're there at this concert, their artist is playing their favorite song right in front of them. It's so out of body, right? And you know, it's, you transcend this kind of normalcy and go into this great headspace of just being there and being present at this event, and it just went away in a blink of an eye, you know. And of course there are live stream concerts, and of course there are you know, playbacks of past gigs and all that, but nothing, I really mean it, nothing compares to just seeing your artist live and feeling the emotion that they are giving you. It's almost like a religious experience. It's so good.
It is. It's like you go into this venue and you're with all these people that love the art, and the artists are on stage, and you vibe off of our energy and we vibe off of your energy. So it's like this electrifying feeling that it's like, when can we get that back?
Right. Yeah. And I know all of my musical counterparts, all my musical coworkers, you know, they're fighting the good fight out of this whole phenomenon. They're fighting it. They're still working. They're still like trying to, and succeeding in making new creative projects, things, something that's going to keep them there for that time. And I keep saying this to myself, like, COVID's not going to crush your creativity.
Yeah.
It shouldn't, right? I mean, you got into this world trying to find the beauty in life. That a little pandemic is not going, well, it's a big pandemic, but it shouldn't be something that's going to stop your creative process. Like,
it should eventually accelerate your process, because it's like, okay, now we totally have to shift everything that we did and just find new ways to be creative. And a big part of that is like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch, and all these, you know, like, okay, so like maybe I'll put like a minute video of me covering a song, or the video that I was talking to you about earlier where you're in one part of the room but then you go to another part of the room, and I'm like, where'd you go? How do you do it?
Cloned himself. Oh my God.
What happened? I saw that video. I was like, who is this guy? He's amazing. I need to talk to him. And that's when I reached out to you. So
it's good. It's good. It's good to see people staying creative. I mean, I've seen people do actually AR concerts. So like augmented reality concerts. This band, everything. And they did this whole campaign of doing a few shows completely in VR. And they're there. You can look around, you're in a venue, and it's just like, that's really cool. I mean, it's not the same, but it's still super cool, right? You know? And
VR takes you to this whole other level. You think you're actually there.
Right. Yeah, and it's, I mean, yeah, you're in this digital world, but I mean, you still are like around, and you still hear the songs, and it's all that, and it feels like it's your world, you know?
Yeah.
And you have like some other people who are actually trying to do the actual concert gauntlet, where they're taking cars in and driving in, and they can't, you know, exactly go outside their cars, but they can still watch the concert from their cars, and that's cool too.
Yeah.
And you know, I think, I don't know who said this, but I remember someone saying, like, you know, this has to, you know, move aside at some point. And when it does move aside, you can expect that everyone around the world is going to celebrate this. They're going to celebrate, they're going to celebrate the fact that we literally were on a pause. We were on a pause to reflect, do what we have to do, figure out what our next steps are, and there's going to be an end. And when that end happens, it's going to just feel so good. Just all over the place. Just, bars are going to be open. I mean, you get to do the things that you want to do, and that's what I keep holding on to. Mm-hmm. This has to go away at some point. At least it has to regulate at some point. So just keep fighting for that point, right? It may not go back to the same, but it's gonna go back to something that we can do again. So hang tight.
Be patient, because we don't know when that day is, but hopefully after what happened today, hopefully it's very soon.
Oh, please. Yes.
Please continue to pray, guys, because we need our reality back. Like, don't you just want to go back to normal things and just
we want to go back to the normal, but nonetheless take pride in what we got now. I mean, the way I've been looking at this pandemic is, like a pause. It's a pause. It's almost like going back to the, for lack of a better term, war room. It's like going back and figuring out the next move, right? It's sitting down with yourself and being like, hey, are you okay? Are you good? Like, what's up? Like, how are you feeling? Is there something you want to improve about yourself? What are those weaknesses that we can strengthen? That's how I've been looking at this. It's this time where you don't have, I mean, it's actually just time. It's time. You can explore new avenues. You can read some more books. You can be a little bit more fit. You can look into yourself and figure out, well, what do I want out of this? And I think that's the silver lining out of it. Like, we're not rushing so much. Like, there are factors that, there are factors that we have to be aware of, but also we need to be aware of ourselves and not forget ourselves. So,
right. A lot of beautiful things are going to come out of this, even though a lot are still struggling to even, we all want everything to go back to reality. It's just like, how are we still in this?
Right.
All these.
Right. And it's, like I said, it takes us believing in the fact that this will get done and trusting the people who have the information to basically educate us in how we can help get this done. Because everyone's itching. I remember there's times where people were itching to get haircuts, right? Times where people were itching to, go out to bars again. It's like, well, look, it's not like they went off the face of the earth. They're there. We just have to be patient. We have to be patient, and we have to trust the process. Trust the process, because the process will get us to the end result.
Mm-hmm. So talk to us about Lofts. It's a band that you created in Chicago. Talk to me about how you formed, your bandmates, all that good stuff.
Man, I can't speak enough about my band. I love my band to death. I went to study in Chicago. Mm-hmm. I studied music in Chicago, and the first day on my orientation, I ran into my frontman, Daniel McConnell.
Yeah.
He is my best friend now. He lives approximately 20 miles away from here. So I could just drive up and be like, hey man, what's up? But we met in orientation. We shared an elevator together as we were trying to go back into the main hall so we could meet the rest of our music friends. And he introduced himself. He was like, hey man, how you doing? I'm Daniel McConaughey. I have an album on iTunes. And I was like, oh, excuse me. And so I was like, so what have I done that I can retort with? And I was like, hey man, I'm Regi Drake. I played for India Arie once. And he was like, oh. And the rest, and then we kind of just formed this banter from then. And as we went to the main hall, we ran into the bass player of the band, Kasmerick, who's also another 20-minute drive up there. And he joined the group, and he started talking to us. We formed this little small friend group from that. Mm-hmm. Then we met my drummer, Connor Fortune, and he was this jazz studies major, and I had an interaction with him just walking through the school and recording. And we met my keyboard player, or I should say arranger and composer, because that's what he is, Zapp, who actually lives in LA right now. And he does like productions for trailers on movies right now. It's pretty crazy. But we all formed this little outfit. And it was so weird to begin with, because we also went through these crazy genre skips. Like, we wanted to be pop, and then we wanted to be kind of like technical, so we wanted to do all these like weird math rocky stuff. And then we just decided, you know what, we just want to be kind of alternative, like no nonsense. Like, we don't have to, you know, show up just because we're in like a music school. We don't have to have like 9/8 time signatures, or, you know, play in this crazy tuning. We just want to make music, right? And that's when we got like influences like Death Cab for Cutie, Foles, Manchester Orchestra, the Paper Kites, just all these different alternative rock acts that melded into us, right? And we continued at that. We had a new name, we had another name at that point. We called ourselves Armitage, because in Chicago, there's this train system, and it takes everywhere you need to go. Right. One stop called Armitage. We were thinking of names for like maybe 3 months, and we just looked up at the CTA and we were like, Armitage. That's it. Everyone likes it. Keep moving from that. And so in Chicago, we were under that name. We played shows everywhere. You know, we opened for some pretty cool people, big venues. And then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but a question was raised from Daniel, and he was like, would you like to look at Seattle? Because we were leaving college at the time. We were about to graduate. Would you want to come check out Seattle and look at the music scene there? Because Death Cab for Cutie grew up in Bellingham, which is another like 3 hours away from here. Bono was here. You know.
Soundgarden.
Yeah, right. And you also have like Jimmy.
Yeah.
That was the seller for me. I was like, wait, Jimmy? All right, cool. So Chris, Daniel, and actually my current roommate, he's outside now, Ben, who's our graphic designer, we all took a little trip to Seattle for like 3 days. Loved it. It was so different from the Midwest. There's mountains everywhere, trees, a huge body of water to the west. You know, the sun stayed up until like 9:30 p.m. and it was just like, wow, what is this place? And we went back to Chicago and we looked at everyone. We were like, guys, I think we want to move. We want to move the band to Seattle. And that's what we did. And Daniel had a fiance at the time. Chris had a fiance at the time. And we all basically did this incredible, like 4 or 5 car caravan from Chicago. And these weren't like huge cars. These are like Ford Focuses, like a quick like Serene. I had like a 2001 red 2-door Chevy Cavalier, and I just filled it up full of stuff. And we drove from Chicago up to the northern part of America. So like through South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and then we hit Seattle. And we decided to change the name. We became Lofts. And we just kind of made do and worked through this incredible landscape. It was just like the muse we always wanted. We had a band who started here that we were really, you know, influenced by. They've started up the street from us, we say, and it's just new territory. And it just puts so many new songs out, so many new like experiences between all of us, and it just felt great. Feels great. I don't want to leave yet, but yeah, good stuff. It was never regretted that move. You know, I miss Chicago all the time. I miss St. Louis all the time. I find that St. Louis and Chicago and Seattle, they're all, I can't compare the two because they're all so different, and they all have their own like subsections in their own way, right? So Chicago is this bustling metropolis. I call it mini New York, right? Like it's just this bustling.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Not your winters, not the windy city. No.
The winters, that was another reason why I left. I was like, ugh. There was a point in the winter where I like went outside with wet hair, and within like 15 seconds, I would like pull off a piece of my hair on accident. And ugh.
It's not.
But, yeah, it was brutal. But it's just this bustling metropolis with all these people running around and trains everywhere and nightlife and great food and just this great Midwestern atmosphere, right?
Right.
And then you have Seattle, and it's this relatively big city, but it's surrounded by beautiful nature. Beautiful, still great music scene, still great food. Like, people are great. And I just can't compare them, you know? Like, they're just two different entities. They're so nice.
Were all of you guys totally fine going Chicago to Seattle? Because that's not like, oh yeah, we're gonna drive 3 hours. That's like cross country. So were you guys all like, oh, let's do it? Because I feel like that would probably have a lot of convincing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it took a little bit of convincing, and maybe like without a lot of ties too, because, you know, like if the less baggage you have, like the easier things become. So like the big thing was Daniel and Chris had, you know, girlfriends and fiancés at the time, right? And so they're like, well, I don't want to just up and leave.
Right. Yeah.
They're good. And Daniel brought his fiancée out here, and when she saw it, she was just like, cool, we're in, let's go, let's move. And same for Chris. I mean, like, they were just there, and they saw everything and what it had to offer. And, you know, my roommate also is from Chicago, and he was in that same friend group. He was also a part of that caravan. He was like, I love this. Like, we're just going to do this. And it was like a whole 3 or 4 day excursion, right? So we drove a little bit, stopped in South Dakota, drove a little bit, stopped somewhere else, maybe in Montana, right? Drove a little bit more, stopped somewhere right outside of Idaho, but kind of in Washington still, so Spokane, and hit Seattle. And it was such a great trip. I mean, learned so much about everybody, had some great time, some cool experiences, some really interesting experiences, but, you know, it was just so nice. I mean, oh man, I'd do that trip again. So great.
It sounds absolutely incredible when you go through. I mean, I've never been to like Montana, South Dakota. I haven't even been to Seattle. I've been wanting to go to Seattle to check out. But then again, that cross country flight from New York to Seattle, I'm like, I suck on 6-hour flights. Like, I'm like, oh my God, are we there? Are we there? I need to stretch my legs. I need to go to the bathroom. Like, I'm so annoying on flights. So
I get it.
Really, really Seattle, and all this craziness is over and done with. Like, I definitely want to come check out the music scene. I'm not sure what else is there to do in Seattle?
Girl, you can hike. And I think that's what sold me to begin with. Hikes here are like you're hiking through Narnia, right? And I mean, like, oh, goodness. Another thing I was doing in the pandemic was, you know, hiking. When they allowed people to start going outside and, you know, wearing a mask to go hiking, that's what I did all the time.
Yeah.
And there are some super striking places in Seattle, right outside of Seattle, maybe a few hours outside, that look like you were in a medieval fantasy thing, right? And they're so beautiful. The waters are basically like Gatorade blue because there's just so, it's weird. And then there's these towering mountains, and you're looking at them and you can see like all the trees growing on the side of them, and like the crevices that they make. You can see snow caps on top of them, and you're just like, this exists, and it exists maybe like a few miles away from my house. This is weird, right? So there's all these hikes and all these naturey things you can do here. It's super naturey city. There's all this water.
Mm-hmm.
You can drive, you can take a ferry to numerous islands. You can see some killer whales like jumping in and out after a few times. there's a huge mountain in the background, you know, Mount Rainier. It's just massive. And then like you have all these opportunities to eat such good seafood.
Mm-hmm.
I would die for salmon. I love salmon.
Yeah, that's sounds so.
And there have been some places here where I have gotten just the best salmon I've ever had, and I'm like, oh yes. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of like entertainment to do in Seattle too. Like there's a great brewery scene.
Mm-hmm.
So trying a few breweries, like Lagunitas is up here. We have Elysian. There's so many. I can count like Rubens. There's so many great places to drink here, and the scene is very nice for that aspect. There's places you can shop, really like vintagey shopping. Go into record stores, get the latest record there. Go to a pie bar and eat some pie. I mean, like, such a great city to just.
It sounds amazing, and we're gonna need to talk after this because I need like a list of places to come to when I
got you. Like the first month I moved here, I basically just gorged myself in food. It was disgusting, but I was just like, oh,
you got it. So because sometimes in these big cities, like the food is to die for, so you can't just like, okay, like Chicago, like deep dish pizza. When I went to Chicago, I had deep dish pizza, and I'm like, I want to eat like 3 of these. I'm like, oh my god, no, I can't.
Like, out and probably like triple the size I was, and you know,
exactly.
Right. Yeah, there's such good food, good people, a lot of scenery. I mean, it's just such a pretty place. It's so, like, I wake up some days and I'm like driving into the middle of downtown, and I just randomly see the Mount Rainier like to the side of me, and I'm like, that is a whole mountain right there. And Mount Rainier isn't close by any means. It's like 2 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like you can literally just like, oh, I'm just gonna go to Mount Rainier real quick and just walk over. It's like, no, this is a big mountain. It's just such a pretty city.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I just want to be completely honest with you. We're about to approach the hour mark, and if you know anything about Instagram Live, they cut us off at the 1 hour mark. So I have like 1 or 2 questions for you, and I also want you to perform and do the Q&A. So are you cool with ending it here, maybe coming back top of the hour? Are you cool?
Yeah.
You're
That's
cool
fine.
because then we could take a quick break, and then it's going to be 10 o'clock here, so it's going to be what, 7 there?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's end it here, and then let's come back at 7 o'clock your time, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Just because I've had this happen before, and one of the guys that was performing, it actually cut him off in the middle of the song, and I'm like, oh my god, so bad. I can't have that happen again. So I just want to be very honest with you because we're having a great conversation, and I still want you to do your performance, and there are people that in here that have questions for you. So I just wanted to be completely upfront and honest with you.
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that then. I mean,
Okay. 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
Okay. Okay. I'll see you then.
Cool. See you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.